Today we will hook up a mother of a missing child with a convicted child molester who says he was involved in her child's abduction. Hello, everyone. Milk cartons with pictures of missing children have become commonplace, but the very first boy ever to be placed on a milk carton 10 years ago is still missing. His name is Johnny Gosch. He was last seen on his Sunday morning paper route in September of 1982. For his parents, it has been 10 years filled with anguish, frustration, and tears. For police and the FBI, it has meant hundreds of interviews and thousands of man-hours. The result? No leads, no arrests, not even any suspects. Now a convicted sex abuser has come forward to say he was there the day Johnny was kidnapped, and that he has, in fact, seen him since. Johnny's mother believes him, but the police won't even talk to him. In a moment, we will. But first, let's meet Johnny's mother, Noreen Gosch, and the investigator who is helping her, Roy Stevens. Please welcome them. Noreen, the case has received so much publicity. How have these last 10 years been for you and your family?
They have been so stressful. It's very difficult to even describe to someone who's not been through it. You have, first of all, the tearing pain of being separated from your child, wondering if they're dead or alive or who's doing what to them. You have the work that you encounter trying to locate them, trying to find them. Some shred of information that might help. It's just a level of frustration and pain that I never thought I would live through or experience in my entire life.
There must be days when you almost wish that his body had turned up so that the ordeal would be over.
In the kindest way, if Johnny could not be found and have a decent life, I would rather him be at peace, yes. And that's very difficult for me to say publicly, but it's true.
Well, the guilt associated with that feeling, even.
Oh, it is. And even the guilt associated with perhaps having food to eat, a bed to sleep in when he might not even have those basic human comforts. It's a survivor guilt that you go through as well.
When was the last time you saw him?
The last time I saw Johnny was the night of the Last Supper, I call it. Both of my other children were home, which was unusual, to have everybody there at one time. My daughter's fiance was there, and we had a very nice dinner. Kids were joking around. They were having a great time. And Johnny said, I have to get ready to go to bed because I want to do my paper out in the morning early so we can go to the lake. And he was going to get to take his best friend. So he said goodnight to everyone, gave me a kiss, and went upstairs. Pretty soon he came back downstairs. He came around in the kitchen, put his arms around me, and he gave me an extra kiss on the cheek, and he says, Mom, I really love you. You're the best. And he turned the corner and went up the stairs, and I never saw him again. That was the last time.
How did you then find out he was missing?
The next morning, the phone rang a little before 7. Some of the neighbors didn't get their papers, so we just assumed that Johnny was running late and had just gotten up late. So my husband went out to try and help him on the route, and that's when he found Johnny's wagon sitting at the street corner with the papers still loaded. He had not even cut one bundle, and he was gone. And we knew something terrible had happened. Our son was a very responsible boy. He did not, I mean, he was there for his route. He had a perfect service award for every month he had it. He wasn't the type to skip out.
You knew it, but it took 72 hours for the police to begin an investigation.
It took 72 hours to start what they call an investigation. By the time the police arrived, 45 minutes after I placed the call to enter him as a missing person, I had already talked to all the witnesses. I had the description of the car. I had the description of the man Johnny was last seen talking to, and a description of a partial license plate. I did all that before they got there.
You have, over the last 10 years, had how many leads, would you say?
Hundreds.
And that you have followed up on yourself?
Oh, yes. We don't take the luxury of just saying this lead might be something or this lead might not. We check it out, even though many of them are dead ends. We've also had approximately 700 psychics call us, meaning well, but it didn't help.
Right. Why are you convinced that this man who is now behind bars is a person with real information?
Paul Bonacci has been able to supply us with information that only he could have known if he had been with my son at some point in time. For instance, there was a scar above Johnny's ankle, a scar that we never reported to the media, never reported to the police. Paul was able to correctly describe that scar, the color of it, the shape of it, and the location. Paul also was able to fill me in on details of things that Johnny had said to him. Again, for instance, I teach yoga, and I have taught for about 17 years. He told me that Johnny told him that he used to go to yoga class with me on nights when I didn't have a babysitter because I wouldn't leave him home alone. And he would take his schoolwork and finish it in the back of the room, and then the two of us would go out to his favorite Mexican restaurant to eat afterwards. And that was some of his special times he remembered with me.
And this man knew that?
This man knew that. He told me that at the prison.
You saw him at the prison?
Yes.
And we actually have videotape of you meeting this man for the first time.
I don't blame you.
I wish I didn't. I feel so good. I feel so bad about it because what they made me do.
That is Paul Bonacci. He is currently an inmate at the Nebraska State Penitentiary in Lincoln. He is serving time for 3 separate convictions of sexually abusing a minor, and he is with us now on the phone. Paul, obviously it was a very emotional meeting with Johnny's mother. Why was it so emotional for you?
Because I felt that I'd hurt her a lot in what I had done.
Paul, how did you come to know Johnny?
I came to know Johnny when guy Emilio had abducted him, and he forced me to go along with him.
So you were there when Johnny was abducted?
Yes.
And Noreen, I assume that Paul has described that event in enough to tell you that you're comfortable that he knew the circumstances of the disappearance, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Were you involved in any of the sexual abuse of Johnny?
I was forced to participate in some of it.
You were?
Yes.
We have a videotape, which, Paul, I know you cannot see, but you are familiar with, of a restaurant in Denver. On the wall, you can see the words, Johnny Gosch was here. Were you there when those words were painted onto the wall?
Yes.
Was Johnny there as well?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
That was in about March of '86.
When was the last time you saw Johnny Gosch?
In March of '86.
In March of '86. Do you know now if he's still alive?
I believe so, but I don't know for sure.
Do you have any idea where Johnny may be?
I have some ideas, but I'm not, have no facts with that.
Johnny is an adult now. Do you have any information on whether he is being held against his will or whether he is staying away?
I don't know.
What's your best guess?
I guess the best guess is they worked on him the same way they worked on a lot of the other kids that were involved with them. They make them feel a lot of guilt. By the time they become adults, they're so much a part of it that they're afraid to ever go back home or afraid to tell anybody because these people tell them that for what they've done, they'll either kill them or they'll end up going to prison or something.
Paul, stay with us on the phone, if you will. We're going to take a commercial break here, and we'll come back and continue in a moment. We're back. We're talking about the disappearance of Johnny Gosch 10 years ago. We are talking with a convicted child molester from behind prison who says he was there on the day that Johnny was abducted. Paul, why should we believe this information that you have?
I don't really know why you should believe me, but I'm telling the truth, and I just feel like I have to tell this. I would have come forward if I ever known it sooner myself, but because of multiple personality disorder I have, I did not even know myself as Paul about this. And I know that what was done was wrong. And
Roy Stevens is here with us, Paul. You've investigated and solved 60 missing child cases. Why do you believe Paul's information?
Because he's telling the truth, simply put. I've been working with Paul for 2 years and following up his information, following up the leads that he has provided, the personal knowledge that he has given. Not once in 2 years have I been able to prove him to be other than truthful. I've located other people. I've located other people involved in this case that Paul has provided information on. He knows too many things, personal things about Johnny, that even I did not know when I went into this case for the Gosches. He knew things that took place that morning. He knew about the photograph that had been taken of Johnny 2 weeks before he was abducted. Nobody knew the photograph had ever been taken. Not only did he tell us about the photograph, he described it, and the background that was in the photograph matched perfectly the information that we have on the photograph.
Pretty remarkable, too, that he knew about the writing on the wall in the restaurant.
Yes. What's amazing about that little feature there is that information about the restaurant and the wall with the writing on it didn't even come from Paul. It came from some, I believe, former neighbors of John and Noreen Gosch that were out there on vacation, saw it, remembered, and called the Gosch family. They, in turn, called me. On my next trip out, I saw the restaurant. I took those photographs of the wall. When I came back, I visited with Paul. I did not show him the writing on the wall, did not even tell him what was there. I simply showed him a photograph of the exterior of the restaurant. Once he saw the exterior, he told me what kind of restaurant it is, the unique features of the restaurant, which is very unique, and then proceeded to tell me about the fact they had been painting their fingernails that day. They were being made fun of, so they went to the restroom, and the end result was the writing on the wall. The interesting fact of the whole thing is the writing on the wall is, in fact, put on with dark red fingernail polish, a maroon type red. In Paul's description of what took place, they were using fingernail polish, dark red maroon type. Paul did not know I'd ever seen that restaurant or seen the wall.
Paul, we've heard some pretty amazing information that you have that would lead everyone here to believe that you do, in fact, know information about the disappearance of Johnny Gosch. In your mind, what can you tell us that would prove to us that you know what happened? What's the most convincing piece of evidence?
I don't really know, because nobody's ever told me if anything I've ever said has been true. Nobody's ever told me that anything I've ever told them about, like the writing on the wall or the scar that Johnny had and stuff, nobody's ever told me if any of that stuff was ever true. So nobody's ever confirmed to me anything that I've ever said.
Roy just said it here, and so did Mrs. Gosch.
I have never confirmed anything he's ever said to me. I have tape recorded every session with him, which is over 300 hours. I've never once told him if he's right or wrong. He's hearing it for the first time today.
How does that make you feel, Paul, to know that you were right and that they believe you?
Makes me know that telling the truth, telling the truth can be checked out, but if I was lying, there's no way that they would ever be able to have gotten anything that they've gotten.
All right, let me get to a commercial break, and we'll come back and continue our talk about the disappearance of Johnny Gosch. And we're back now. Roy, let me ask you, you've been talking to Paul Bonacci from behind bars for 2 years with such a convincing body of evidence. Why have authorities not ever interviewed this man?
2 reasons. 1, he's a convict in prison. And 2 is that 3 years ago he was charged with 3 counts of perjury to a grand jury. Those charges, by the way, were dropped. He was never convicted on those charges. Charges never were ever substantiated. That's it in a nutshell.
Does Paul have anything to gain by lying?
In fact, no. It has cost him. Because of his insistence on his story being true, his parole last year was denied.
Paul is now scheduled to go free next week.
Yes. He has served more time for his charges than anyone else in the state of Nebraska on similar charges.
Paul, are you aware that with this information you have provided that you could, if they all believe you, be arrested?
Yes.
Does that trouble you?
Yes.
But you're still willing to come forward?
I'm still willing to come forward because it's the right thing.
You have a question here?
Yes, Roy, I was wondering, were you hired by the Gosches, or are you a paid police officer in Iowa?
I am not a police officer. I have an organization called the Missing Youth Foundation. I have worked for the Gosches for a number of years, as well as other families. Hired, yes. Fee, no. There is no money involved. I do not charge for my services to families.
You have a question?
Yes. Why is it that the police does not believe Paul? Is it because the police have something that they did not follow through on?
Noreen, you have strong feelings on that, I bet.
The police have many things that they did not follow through on in our case. This is just one of them. And Roy more or less went over the reasons. Paul is a convict. He's in prison, so therefore they're just staying away from him at this point. This may all change next week when he goes free. We'll have to wait and see.
Your family over the years, as you have tried to follow up on leads, has received death threats.
That's correct.
They have threatened your other children that they will take them as well.
Kill them.
Kill them. So every time you have gotten close to information, somebody has come forward to try to stop you.
Every time we get close to solving the case in terms of who done it, not finding Johnny, but the person that's guilty, that may go to prison for this, we receive death threats. We have lots of problems that occur, yes.
You have a question?
I was wondering about, from Paul, who is this they that he was referring to? They will brainwash him. They have done, threaten him.
It's a small group of people, approximately 6 individuals, 6 adults, who abduct children, who are into child pornography and child prostitution and child slavery.
You have a question here?
Yeah, I was wondering, why did he come forward with the truth now?
Paul, why did you come forward with the truth now?
I came forward with it about 2 years ago, and because of the MPD, I didn't know about this information until I had to find the personality that knew about what had happened, because I, as Paul, wasn't the one who was involved, but another personality.
Paul wasn't diagnosed until 2.5 years ago as a multiple personality disorder. He has over 100 personalities, and Paul was never co-conscious.
Paul, I am holding in my hand here 2 letters that you received in prison from 2 friends of yours. One letter reads, "I know the restaurant in Colorado, we painted our nails, and I wrote on the wall with JG. I have another letter that says, the colonel has gone back to Mexico and has taken JG with him. JG is back to blonde and had face surgery." So even though you may not know where Johnny currently is, do you think there are people out there who do?
Yes, I do.
We'll be back and continue in a moment. And we're back. We are talking to a man who is behind bars who says he has new information about the disappearance of Johnny Gosch. Paul, you have an audience here. Johnny's mother is with us. What would you like to say to Johnny's mother?
Sorry. If there's anything in the world I could do to change what happened, I would.
Do you have anything you'd like to say to him?
Mm-hmm. Paul, I just want to say that I believe you, and I do want to thank you for your help. And I want to visit with you and spend some time talking with you when you're released. Is that all right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you know where Johnny Gosch is? Please help his mother find him.
That I attend from time to time. The Easterners and the others that come there. But it is the most faggy goddamn thing you will ever imagine in San Francisco crowd that goes in there. It's just terrible.